states, "Man nama an salatin aw nasiyaha falyusalliha idha dhakaraha."
I should not find. Sexual and reproductive rights have taken center stage in Buea as young girls and women have been schooled on how to identify intimate partner violence and sexual exploitation ahead of the International Women's Day. Out of Cameroon, authorities in Zimbabwe have released more than 4,000 prisoners following a presidential amnesty aimed at easing overcrowding in the country's correctional facilities. And in sports, Victoria United and Gazelle FA played out a high-intensity clash that reshaped the top of the table after a 2-2 draw. Details of the stories and more in this newscast. Good evening, dear viewers. You're welcome to News Hour on Royal Television. My name is Frida Leina. We open the news with this story where activities for the 41st edition of the International Women's Day in Buea, southwest region of Cameroon, have been made public. Speaking during the camp together, the regional delegate of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Edage Lucia Dipita, cautioned the young girls and women to know their rights and fight to safeguard their lives. Let's take a listen to this story compiled by Honorin Cheng.
In Buea, as women from all walks of life are present to stamp their footprints on the sands of time. In the southwest region of Cameroon, all is set as the women under the banner of the regional delegate of Women Empowerment and the Family, Edage Lucia Dipita, holds all women irrespective of class, color and religion deserve justice and action must be taken to save their lives.
The message this year is that every woman deserves justice. Every woman must know her rights, and action must be taken for any perpetrator who tries to violate the rights of a woman. So women should be upright. Women should be alert. Their voices should be heard.
Besides speaking up and speaking out, these women have been enjoined to be exemplary character-wise in their homes, offices, and their communities at large. The regional delegate has hammered on the fact that each and every woman must know their rights and fight to safeguard their lives.
Women should adjust, first of all, with their way of behavioral character around where they work, in their homes, and in the society at large. Last year, I was not about the women. I talked a lot against the women, but it doesn't mean that I am always supporting the women. This year, we know that when they talk of justice, there's somebody who has ever been denied of justice, the woman.
Going by her, plans for the week-long activities are already gaining steam as the women will take part in roundtable discussions, a visit to young industrious entrepreneurs, health sensitization campaigns, and the fashion parade, amongst others.
As for Southwest Women, you have a lot. As we are launching today, from next week we start with the first activity, which is human investment. Then we continue with our roundtable conference and debate amongst institutions. We also continue. The next day we continue with our socio-cultural activities, where we have traditional dances, and there is a competition for a miss. There is also competition for the best entrepreneur, and then we have football matches. So That is our activity for the whole.
This month celebrates women and girls. These women from all walks of life culminated at Bongo Square, where the celebrations will take place.
As we told you in one of our top stories, sexual and reproductive health rights have taken center stage in Buea as young girls and women have been schooled on how to identify intimate partner violence and sexual exploitation ahead of the International Women's Day celebrations. Honorin Cheng says in the upcoming feed that such customary practices are punishable by law in Cameroon. Her report.
The Women's Counseling and the Information Center, WCIC, in alliance with the Ministry of Women Empowerment and the Family, have brought together young girls and women to talk sexual and reproductive health. Given that sexuality is emotional, there is need for participants to know how sexual exploitation manifests.
Do you have control over your fertility? Do you have control over your sexuality? When, like his writing said, there must be consent. At least they must have your consent. Anything that is not your consent is absent is a crime. It's an offense, and that's why Cameroon law punishes rape. When somebody rapes you, it's an offense, a very serious offense.
In the Southwest region, experts at the Regional Delegation of Women's Empowerment and the Family are putting hands on deck to make sure that women not only know their rights, but that they seek to protect them.
Because the two of them are supposed to be on the table to decide on what happens to family. But generally, 3/4 of our families are being controlled by the men. And Prof is doing a lot, especially at the level of trainings. We train women every day. On the radio, we are there to talk to women, to vulgarize, to make sure women understand that if they don't know their rights, they will continue to suffer intimate partner violence, because that is where it begins, knowing your rights. Once you know your right, you'll be able to distinguish when you are violated or not. So
rights are not given on a platter of gold. Therefore, the government of Cameroon is doing the best it can to eradicate certain customary practices which remain a nuance in the violation of women's sexual and reproductive rights.
these girls are here to be educated on their sexual and reproductive rights, because we work with a legal tool that is the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, on the rights of women in Africa, popularly known as the Maputo Protocol. Yes, the Article 14 of this Maputo Protocol talks on sexual and reproductive rights of women.
The seminar holding under the banner Sexual and Reproductive Rights, making the Maputo Protocol a reality for all women and girls, holding at the Women Empowerment Center in Buea Town, is a stitching time that saves 9.
Intimate partner violence is common in Africa, especially in Cameroon, especially in the Southwest region, because you know, culture is one of the things that has intruded into intimate partner violence and has amplified it. Because even though people are educated to a certain level, they still want to keep that culture that a man is supreme, that whatever a man will say is what counts, and that a man is supposed to be supposed to have the final word to everything that happens. So this intimate partner violence crops up every time that a woman wants to say no to certain things. A man will always make the woman understand that you don't have the right to refuse me sex. Even if you're sick, you have to open your legs for me. You don't have the right to refuse the number of children you must have, because that is what I want and not what the woman wants.
Regional Delegate, these women and the young girls now know that sexual exploitation can still come from their partners, but above all, they know it's punishable by the law in Cameroon.
Many thanks, Honorin Cheng. Away from Women's Day preparations, a new chapter in community development has unfolded in Mokunda Village, Limbe 2 subdivision of the Southwest region, as residents celebrate the inauguration of a 45 million francs CFA ultra-modern community hall, a project made possible through unity, sacrifice, and the collective determination of its sons and daughters. Kusona Claudia Boma tells us more.
Kunda Kunda village in Limbetu subdivision has officially inaugurated a newly renovated ultra-modern community hall, marking a significant step in community development. The former structure, donated in 1988 by the then mayor of the Limbe Urban Council, Mayor Matute Daniel, served the population for decades, hosting village meetings, church activities, family gathering, and other social events. However, increasing population and modernization needs made expansion inevitable. The new edifice features a 225-seater main hall, an office space, a guest room, a canteen, storage facilities, and a spacious veranda, offering improved comfort and functionality for community use. Welcoming guests and residents, the traditional ruler of Mokunda village, His Royal Majesty Chief Edward Ngale Maole Matande III, stated that the transformation was driven by necessity and collective sacrifice. He praised the sons and daughters of the village for financing the project despite unsuccessful appeals to administration for sponsorship. The chief disclosed that the renovation has cost the village traditional council approximately 45 million francs CFA and appealed to the people of goodwill to support efforts to fully equip the facility. He also urged the population to maintain the structure and keep the environment clean.
We have to understand that the growing population of Mokunda has necessitated us to put a building that is befitting.
For his part, the mayor of the Limbetu Council, His Royal Majesty Chief Woka Daniel Ngalendive, congratulated the traditional ruler for championing the transformation of the old structure into a modern community asset. He encouraged him to remain steadfast in pursuing development initiatives for the village.
And that you continue with this same energy. They used to speak in the dialect that Gombari and Injega. Aratua, Ekenan. Aha, wenga ingbe chibi edot mutande weke. Wenga agbe umanyu agbe wi awimbo awendo wuru. Ekenanu.
The second phase of the ceremony featured a fundraising drive for the construction of a women's empowerment center aimed at training young girls, women in the community. Over 5 million francs CFA was raised on the spot in cash and pledges. Held under the patronage of the divisional officer of Limbetu subdivision, Serge Meka Albert, the ceremony concluded with the ribbon cutting to officially declare the hall open, followed by cultural music and traditional dance performances. Kunda village.
2 students have been found dead in Lokonje, a locality in Kribi, Ocean Division of the South region. The 2 students from the government bilingual high school Kribi Rural were reported missing on February 23, 2026 and were discovered dead recently in a marshy bush area, already in a state of decomposition. Natalie Njoma completes the story.
It was a calm and solemn atmosphere in the seaside resort town of Kribi as they received the tragic news of the death of 2 students from the government bilingual high school Kribi Rural. The victims, who have been identified as Ze Eyamo and Nes Sidoni, 17-year-old lower-tier students of GBHS Kribi, and Anonina Diliana, 22-year-old, and a Form 3 student, were reported missing for over a week and only discovered dead in an advanced state of decomposition. According to medical observations carried out at the scene, the victims are believed to have suffered severe abuse before being brutally killed by the perpetrators. Meantime, the tragic news of the death of these students has left denizens of Lokunje to question the growing insecurity plaguing the city, which has created an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty amongst families as the circumstances surrounding this hideous crime remains unknown at this time.
We now take you to the northwest region of Cameroon, where Senator Fonchafa Isaac, the traditional ruler of Bangolan, has returned home to possess his throne. This took place recently after he was said to be dethroned by the traditional council of Bangolan amidst controversy. The triumphal comeback and the hilarious welcome by his subjects set a pace for dialogue, reconciliation, and peace.
Senator Fonchafa Isaac, the traditional ruler of Bangolan, has received a hilarious welcome by his subjects back to his throne after 10 years absence amidst controversy and tension. Prior to this triumphant comeback, the traditional council Dengomba had dethroned him, citing abandonment and destruction of ancestral objects, while the Ngoketunja Funds Union had backed Fonchafa Isaac, stating that a fund remains a fund for life. The senior divisional officer of Ngoketunja, Hadesen Keton Konge, had declared the dethronement null and void, labeling it illegal and sacrilegious, and also warned anyone collaborating with the dissident faction will face prosecution. Fonchafa's return follows a conflict sparked by his conversion to Christianity by a popular man of God in Boya. Security concerns are of great importance, given that Fonchafa's absence was partly due to security threats from separatists, so his return may require increased security measures to ensure his safety and stability in the region. Therefore, the Bangolan indigenes in particular and the regionals of the Northwest in general should know that security is a synergy between civilians and the military. This civilo-military understanding has proven itself successful in many war zones, thus leading to victory against their adversaries. Therefore, politicians, administrators, and traditional rulers in particular who have deserted their areas should understand and know that the way to peace and unity is humility, apology, and forgiveness.
And not forget the transitional. We now take you out of Cameroon, where authorities in Zimbabwe have released more than 4,000 prisoners following a presidential amnesty aimed at easing overcrowding in the country's correctional facilities. The move, announced by the government, grants freedom to selected inmates serving minor offenses and those nearly to end of their sentences. Details of the stories and more with Nanga Sonia.
Zimbabwe on Monday began releasing nearly 4,000 inmates under a presidential amnesty in a bid to ease overcrowding in the country's prisons. It was announced by the cabinet in February. On the same day, it approved changes to the constitution as part of a plan to extend President Emerson Mnangagwa's term till 2030. The order grants a general amnesty to specific categories of convicted inmates as authorized by the president. The 2026 amnesty is targeted and merit-based, focusing on vulnerable groups and those who have demonstrated significant progress in their rehabilitation. A total of 4,305 prisoners, including 223 women, are set to be released under the clemency order. In the prison yard at Harare Central Prison on Monday, hundreds of inmates sat on the floor in two groups. On one side were those still in their orange prison uniforms, destined to remain behind, while on the other were the men who had already changed into civilian clothes, waiting to be processed for release and return home. Zimbabwe's prisons held just over 24,000 inmates in the second quarter of 2025, according to recent available national data. The scheme also did not include those of contravening the Maintenance of Peace and Order Act, a charge that has been used in the past against protesters and political opposition. There has been much anger in Zimbabwe over the proposed constitutional changes to allow Mnangagwa to extend his term in office by 2 years. The move has been described by opposition figures as a constitutional coup. Other provisions scrap general presidential elections, giving Parliament the power to choose the president. The amendments still need to be passed by Parliament, which is weighted in favor of the ruling ZANU-PF party. Been alive with the March 15 presidential campaign. Among 7 candidates, incumbent Denis Sassou Nguesso was the first to launch his bid, drawing massive crowds at a rally in Pointe-Noire, the country's economic capital. With over 40 years in power, Sassou Nguesso projects confidence and fresh ambitions for his people, yet public skepticism remains high over the opposition's changes against the ruling party candidate. Local citizens reflected the prevailing sentiment. The debates over electoral governance run deep. Since 2015, Tournons La Plage Congo, a coalition of 14 NGOs, has documented repeated irregularities in post-election reports and issued recommendations to improve transparency and fairness. For the ruling majority, maintaining credibility is a different challenge. Despite the seeming dominance of the ruling party, observers say voter turnout will remain a decisive factor, and it is also one of Sassou Nguesso's most pressing goals as he seeks to demonstrate legitimacy in a highly contested political climate. Security forces The Democratic Republic of Congo say they have thwarted a drone attack on the strategic Bangboka International Airport in Kasingani, marking the second such incident in just a month. Provincial authorities in Shopo say the attack took place on Sunday and blamed the anti-government M23 armed group, which is backed by neighboring Rwanda. According to officials, 4 kamikaze drones loaded with sub-munitions were launched at the airport but were intercepted and shot down. No casualties were reported. Bangboka Airport serves both civilian and military operations. The Congolese army uses its runway to deploy attack drones and fighter jets against M23 fighters and Rwandan army positions in eastern DRC. Authorities say the drones struck at 4 separate intervals beginning mid-afternoon. The final attempt came as a civilian aircraft operated by Compagnie Africaine d'Aviation was preparing to land. The M23, which resurfaced in late 2021, has since captured large swathes of mineral-rich eastern Congo. The same airport was targeted between January 31 and February 1 in an attack claimed by the group, which say it had destroyed a military drone command center. Both sides in the conflict frequently accuse each other of carrying out drone strikes in densely populated areas. Just days ago, the M23 claimed a Congolese army drone strike that killed its military spokesman.
We now talk sports on this newscast, where Victoria United and Gazelle FA played out a high-intensity clash that reshaped the top of the table, with Gazelle holding firm to secure a crucial result that now sees them on 14 points, just 1 point above Victoria United, which trail closely with 13 points. Kusona Claudia Voman was there and tells us more in the following report.
It's a game played with urgency from the first whistle, as both sides understood what was at stake. Victoria United pushed aggressively in the opening stages, controlling possession and pressing high, but Gazelle remained compact and disciplined defensively. Despite creating several chances, Victoria United failed to fully capitalize, something their head coach later admitted left him frustrated.
Non, un gros sentiment de déception, hein. Nous essayons marquer, nous avons contrôlé de bout en bout. Chaque fois, il a fallu que Gazelle revienne au score. Vous savez, j'ai une équipe jeune, c'est la jeunesse. On a eu dans une situation de 2-1, on est situation de 3-1 pour tuer le match, on n'a pas pu tuer le match. Et maintenant, sur un fait de jeu, une erreur de concentration, les gars donnent un ballon arrêté, ils mettent la tête, puis c'est dedans. Ça, c'est le foot. Il y a des petits se cachent.
Gazelle, however, approached the game with tactical maturity, absorbing pressure, and striking at key moments that ensured they walked away with a valuable result that takes them to 14 points on the standing. On the pitch reflected the tight race at the top, and even Ballon d'Or winner Serge Daouré, who followed the encounter closely, praised the competitive spirit.
Le sentiment que j'ai eu, c'est de revenir travailler et de finir les occasions et de continuer sur le même lancé et de gagner chaque match et de faire vivre les supporters. Et en fait, c'était la décision du coach puisque je ne me suis pas entraîné pendant 2 jours et c'était hier que je me suis entraîné. Donc il fallait que je reste au banc avant d'entrer au stade.
Qui s'est bien joué dans de bonnes circonstances. Déjà, il faut noter que c'était un match de haut niveau. Ce qu'on a, les enfants produit sur le stade, avec beaucoup de caractère, d'envie et surtout le talent. Et je pense que si on continue à jouer ce genre de rencontres, le niveau du championnat va réellement monter. Et je pense que d'ici 2-3 années, on aura vraiment de belles choses. C'est une bonne équipe qui joue, comme le président le dit souvent, le tiki-taka, les passes, remises et tout. Ils ont des bons schémas préférentiels et ils sont jeunes comme nous, raison pour laquelle on a beaucoup cavalé cet après-midi. Et je pense que on va continuer à travailler pour nous améliorer. Au Popo avait 12 points, nous 13. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes à 14, ils sont à 13. Il fallait absolument les maintenir derrière nous.
Just 1 point separating them, the battle between Gazelle and Victoria United is far from over. And if this encounter is anything to go by, the race promises more drama in the weeks ahead.
Gazelle FA of Garra was actually a high-intensity game, a very thrilling one for that matter. Seeing both sides as Gazelle might not be right behind them. At 13 points, the battle for title head still continues this afternoon with high intensity here in Limbe. We keep giving you as we prepare for match day 9, which will be coming up, seeing Popo leaving its home out there to see how are they going to continue on this unbeaten strike, or are they going to go down? Let's wait and see.
Still in sports, and in a bid to enhance social cohesion among communities in the Buea municipality, the 10th edition of Blow the Blow served as a platform bringing together women of all domains have taken place in Buea. The main activity was the race, which enabled other women to test their athletic skills. Women of the about the age of 65 proved that age is just a number as they dominated the race. Our reporter Nguni Sonita was present at Palapala Field and took part in the event. She brought back this report.
It was just a number at the 10th edition of the Blow the Blow mini race held at the Palapala Field in Buea town over the weekend, having athletes right up to the age of 65 years. It was the break of the day. To some of these women of this category, they have reassured their presence in every year's competition.
I've been Mamiwe Adoka 60 years. Then still race. I did go like a farm. Like a farm at the moment sport. So I'll be surprised as we said I win this race today. But the rest of us strong for Mami. It's because of girls that I see that you go for it. Mami let me if I don't go I can't so thank God say Papa, thank you. But my own sport I did make a push. I did go all bush where they call wealthy. That's so wealthy. I did go that bush. So now that bush it give me power. Because he's the day for that bush. So this one I run, so me I'm not seeing a small race. Although the rest of our hard though, the rest of our hard.
Happy, yes, because this is the 10th edition of a Blow the Blow, and I've been participating for almost 10 years, 9 years. I came the 3rd position, so I am very, very happy. So I'm thanking the crew of Blow the Blow that yes, Blow the Blow is growing, and next year again I will still participate again. So I really thank the Blow. I am very, very happy. Next year I will still come and run again. I will continue till I win this cup. But I'm very, very happy because I'm still at the third position. Yes, I have even made about 7 in the house. So I'm very, very happy. Yes.
Present at the occasion was the mayor of Boya, Barrister David Mafani Namange, praised the ceremony, terming it as a tool to increase social cohesion among communities in the Boya municipality.
Feel very honored, elated, delighted, happy to see women of all ages gluing with men and bringing out this issue of living together. We had women from different regions, different backgrounds, different age groups, and we equally had men, and especially the old men participating and being very active. My impressions are, to be sincere and candid, very good, but I look at it as much more of a challenge. Why I say kudos to the main organizers of Blow the Blow. This is an event which is going beyond leaps and bounds, and we have to start thinking of the next edition immediately to make it even bigger. You see that it brought a lot of relaxations. When you see mothers of above 80 participating in a race and dancing competition, it gives me joy in my heart. It shows that what we have gone through as a community, the period of unrest, we are healing gradually, and with this a very good healing process. I can only call on all and sundry to join in this wonderful event. Who does not like to be part of a good initiative? I am very glad and I want to be part of it. I congratulate the president of Blow the Blow and our executive. I congratulate the communities concerned. I want to thank each and everyone, and this is an appeal. He who says thank you is indirectly saying that please come on.
To the president of Blow the Blow, the success stories reminds them that it only has to get better.
Thank God for everything. It was not easy for us to put all things together to celebrate this day. I thank God for everything. And I want to appreciate all the women out there who came from their various destinations to come and run this Blow the Blow race 10th edition. And I want to thank God for a successful one today.
The 10th edition of Blow the Blow was characterized by dance competitions, catching the attention of onlookers as several groups demonstrated their styles in every dimension.
Sexual and reproductive health rights have taken center stage in Boya as young girls and women have been schooled on how to identify intimate partner violence and sexual exploitation and abuse ahead of the International Women's Day celebrations. Out of Cameroon, we told you that authorities in Zimbabwe have released more than 4,000 prisoners following a presidential amnesty aimed at easing overcrowding in the country's correctional facilities. And in sports, Victoria United and Gazelle FA played out a high-intensity clash that reshaped the top of the table after a 2-2 draw. Ladies and gentlemen and viewers of Royal TV, we've come to the end of News Hour for today. See you tomorrow, same time, same frequency, for another edition of News Hour. It has been a production of Ngunyi Sonita, technical assistance from Consul Neris, and presented by me, Frida Leina. Have a lovely evening in the company of our programs. Bye-bye.